pleasure is for me.
Uh-huh.
God created me to experience it. It is not bad, it is good, and that it is for me. And I think that's something I had to really accept is that I'm meant to experience it just as much as He is.
Welcome to the Get Your Marriage On podcast. I'm your host, Dan Purcell, a sex and intimacy coach for married couples. My mission is to help you build and maintain a sexually vibrant and emotionally intimate marriage. Join me each week as we explore principles and practical tools based on Christian values to create the passionate, joyful, and thriving marriage you're designed to have. Have you ever had the experience where you disassociate in sex? Disassociate meaning you're emotionally removed from the experience just to get through it? Or do you ever feel like sex is just transactional between you and your spouse? Or maybe your spouse expresses frustration that they don't feel desired, even though you are having sex to a certain level of frequency. Now, perhaps you're in a marriage where sex is okay, but you really want it to be passionate, something both people really enjoy and look forward to, where it fills both people's cups. Well, this practical episode is for you, and I am so honored to have a very special guest. This is my friend Faith Carter. I met Faith. She was in our women's small group coaching program, and she tells an amazing story of redemption and faith and just this transformation from her old self where she used sex to get drugs and money during her college years, through getting saved, and now through marriage where sex was difficult and very transactional, to now where it's very transformational and transcendent. You'll hear her share lots of practical tips in this episode, like how sex can fill her own cup. It's not just something she does for her husband. You'll learn about ways she learned how to identify what she enjoys, how she learned to receive pleasure, not just be the giver of pleasure, and how she learned to be a bedroom party planner too. Now, if you're listening to this episode and you want this kind of transformation in your own marriage too, you'll be interested to know that our next cohort for our women's small group coaching program and its correlating men's group coaching program starts on May 12th. This program is ideal for individuals that want a better sex life. They have a pretty good marriage, but they want things to be better when it comes to intimacy. You'll find all the details at getyourmarriageon.com. Click events, scroll down to the May 12th section. You'll see those details for the men's and women's groups. If you want something in person with a touch of adventure, we have a few spots left for a week-long intimacy cruise, and this is sailing in October, and you'll find the application form and all those details under events on our website as well. Hey Faith, welcome to the Get Your Marriage On podcast. I've been looking forward to this conversation for a really long time, and I've known you, I've seen the growth that you've been through, and you just have a remarkable story. And I just really want our podcast listeners to be able to meet you. What a remarkable person you are. And so
Oh,
I'm excited for this.
wow.
So
Thank you,
yeah,
Danny. I feel so unbelievably honored to be here, like more than words can say. I kind of feel like I'm in like a dream right now. So this is pretty remarkable to be here.
well, good, good. Well, most of our listeners don't know you. Can you introduce yourself for a
Yes,
second?
absolutely. Well, my name is Faith. I live in Syracuse, New York, which is just central New York. I am the wife of a pastor. His name is Jordan. And we have two beautiful kids, Summit, who is 7, and Shiloh, who is 2. And I think we are 2 and through. We have 2 on 2, and it's perfect balance right now. So
Super,
we're
super good.
doing well. Yeah.
Nice, nice. So tell me more about your journey and everything leading up to this point where we're talking today.
Yeah. So going back to just my preteen life, I kind of started maturing a lot younger than all my friends and was interested in boys kind of before everyone else. And I really started being really sexually interested and active at 13, 12, and 13, which is like incredibly young. And so my journey was just really early and it was very taboo and it felt very rebellious. And I think I was just in my rebellious child phase. And 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 up until I was about 19, I just at this point, sex was something I did with my boyfriends. And it was just something that was just again kind of a rebellious thing that I did as a kid. And then I eventually just saw it as just transactional. It was just kind of a tool. Didn't really see any like value or weight in it. It was just kind of something everyone does. And why not use it to my advantage? So when
Uh-huh.
I was coming out of college, I dropped out of college a couple times, just really got involved in drugs and partying, and I just fully kinda sent it when I went to college. And I kinda just saw my body and I saw sex as something that I could use to get the things that I wanted, like a tool. And
Right. Mm.
I started, actually selling my body for drugs, for money, and at this point, when I was about 19, it was like I had no respect for myself, and like I said, it was just a very transactional thing for me,
Mhm.
and, I was able to just kind of disassociate myself from the experience because I knew in a few minutes, I can get the things that I wanted. So, as you can imagine at this age, it's really gonna mess with me a little bit mentally and
Yeah.
emotionally. But then about a year after that, I started coming to church. A friend invited me, and I just felt the when I entered the building, I felt, the conviction, and I felt also just the that love for myself again. And,
Mhm.
um, and I just completely gave my life to Jesus, and it was like, all of that I do not want anymore. I just wanna feel that love and that value for myself again because I had none. Like, I didn't have any value or respect or love for myself. So it was like when I was in the presence of God, it all came back to me. So it was like, "This is what I want. I don't want anything to do with that anymore." So, at this stage in my life, it was like
Uh-huh.
all done with sex, all done with drugs, all done with alcohol. Like, I was done with all of it, and I wanted to just live for Jesus.
Uh-huh.
And then shortly after, I meet my now husband, Jordan, at a
Uh-huh.
young adults group, and I had no interest in dating, none, 0. I was ready to live for Jesus and be
Uh-huh.
celibate the rest of my life, live like Paul, and he is interested in me. He is also the pastor's son at this point, and I am fresh out of the lifestyle I just came from.
Uh-huh.
So, he
Right.
starts courting me,
Uh-huh.
and I really thought it was, like, sent from the devil. I was like, "This is not this is what a distraction."
Uh-huh. Yeah. Right.
So
It's like, if I fall for him, I'm backtracking or
yeah, I was
something.
like, I said, "I'm done with guys. I want nothing to do with them, like,
Uh-huh.
nothing." And
Right.
here comes this sweet, precious, kind young man, and innocent as all get out. And long story short, we fell in love. And,
Uh-huh.
I basically told him, "I need to do this different this time. As long as you're living for Jesus and I'm living for Jesus, then we're good. But where there's can be nothing outside of that." And he was like
Mhm.
100%. Like, how else would we be dating? It was just so out of my norms. So it was
Uh-huh.
amazing. But now we're about to get married, and leading up to the wedding, I'm thinking about the sex. I already wrote it
Right.
off in my mind that that's not something I do anymore because it's bad, it's dirty, it got me in a lot of
Right.
trouble, it caused me a lot of pain.
Mhm.
And leading up to it, I had some, just women tell me, when you get married, it totally is redeemed. And I do believe that. I really do believe that God redeems it and he gives you a better sex life and all of that. But I think my expectations were that after we get married, it's going to be amazing and perfect, and nothing from the past is going to haunt me. It's
Uh-huh.
going to be just excellent and perfect and everything I could have ever imagined.
Uh-huh.
So, it's our wedding
And
night.
easy and
Yeah.
effortless
Yes,
and
exactly. And just yeah, so come our wedding night, he stayed a virgin till marriage, and he's the happiest man in the world. So
uh-huh.
excited, he's been waiting for this moment his whole life, and I'm nervous, but I'm excited, and the first night, it's bumpy. It's,
Uh-huh.
it's and I'm like, "Okay, it's night 1."
Uh-huh.
And then, it had just didn't get better. It was like, okay, it still hasn't gotten better. I'm still kind of disassociating. I'm still not feeling it. I'm like, and then a year passes And I
Mhm.
have some friends tell me, "Well, after a year, it'll get better." And then 2 years pass. And I'm starting to get concerned and I'm reading some faith-based books that are saying, if you don't give your husband sex, like it's going to cause them to look at pornography. It's going to cause them to, have urges outside of the marriage. And I'm like, well, this is bad. Like, I really need to make sure I'm having sex with him.
Mhm.
But it was obligation.
Yeah.
So, now 2 years are going by and it's obligatory sex, and now 3 years are going by, and this is a man who has waited his whole life. He also doesn't know. He doesn't know what's going on, and I don't really know what's going on either. So
Mhm.
it's like everything in our marriage is so good, but this is like the secret that we couldn't seem to be connected on. And I
Mhm.
started to think something was wrong with me, and this lasted about 6 years.
Mhm.
And by 6 years, to at least once a week be having obligatory duty sex with your husband who you love so dearly, it
Uh-huh.
just starts to take a toll on you, and we just knew this isn't okay.
Right.
So, that was when I started seeking a therapist. I heard a podcast with thank you, Jesus, for podcasts.
Uh-huh.
Truly, thank you for podcasts because I heard this woman on a podcast talk about her experience was so similar to mine. I never heard anyone else talk about it because I wasn't really talking about it with my friends. And because they're all apparently having great sex. And I'm like, I don't want to share with them that we're not. So I think I'm the only one dealing with this.
Yeah.
When I heard on a podcast that this woman was dealing with the exact same thing and she found freedom. She changed her mindset. She started like diving into books and all that. And so I was just totally blown away by it. So we ended up meeting with her and she became a sexologist. And it was like the first step in getting help.
Mhm.
Um, and we made subtle improvements. I started saying like and sentences like I love Jesus and I am a sexual person. That was the first time I really started integrating
Yes.
some of those things. So they were in two different boxes completely.
Yes. Yeah, yeah. Uh-huh. I can
So
relate. Uh-huh.
yeah. So I started doing some of that work and that was really helpful. And we did make improvements. It was like that was our first big improvement where I, for the first time in our marriage, allowed him to pleasure me at all. It was never something I allowed. It just felt like icky. No, no, I'll do it for you, but I want nothing to do with it. So that was a really big step forward for us where I allowed him to also pleasure me because he wanted to, but I didn't want him to. And this is now six
Mhm.
plus years down the road. So for a while, we rode that train where it was like, okay, we're better now. We're a lot better. But we kind of fell into the pattern of doing, okay, this worked. So let's do it every time. And then a year later, 2 years later, it just became like we were again doing the same thing again and again because it's a little bit better. But it still just wasn't, it was missing something. It wasn't
Mhm.
truly connective. I still felt like it was obligatory. He
Mhm.
still had a knock on the door after a week, and it just wasn't where we wanted it to be.
Yeah. Uh-huh.
Well, then I was listening to the Get Your Marriage On podcast, as I do, and you were interviewing Glenn and Phyllis. Did I get that
Uh-huh.
right? Well, yeah.
Yep, connection codes, yeah.
And yes, they did this conversation where they talked about how 10 years in their marriage where they were at. And it was like me and my husband were talking to each other because we were at 10 years in our marriage at this point. And it
Mhm.
was so from God that I heard that podcast. It was like a random episode that I picked. It wasn't an order. And it was like, spoke directly to our situation. So
Mhm.
we then did the connection codes. And
Uh-huh.
that was amazing, amazing. And it was the first time I heard sex being a party for the woman. It was
Uh-huh.
like what?
Right.
It's been
Uh-huh.
his party. It's not my party.
Uh-huh.
So for 10 years, you're telling me it's been my party? Like that
Uh-huh.
was brand new information to me.
Uh-huh.
So that kind of started the journey in me shifting the mindset of, okay, it's actually supposed to be for me. I just think that was such a radical way of thinking.
Mhm.
Um, and shockingly enough, my husband was down for that. So,
Shocking.
you know, but it just kind of started the journey of like, okay, what does that look like it being a party for me? So,
Mhm.
um, Again, we had improvements, but it still, again, just wasn't where I thought it could be best. I still had a hard time. I knew it was supposed to be a party for me, but I was like, "What does that look like?" Like, he might ask me, "How do you want me to throw your party?" And I'm like, "I don't really know." So it still kinda was a little awkward, I guess.
Gotcha. Or it's like, I understand the concept, but how do I make the abstract concrete? How does the rubber meet the road with this? Like,
That's exactly it.
right? Implementation is hard.
Implementation, 100%. So again, I did notice, like, when we were our best was when I stayed kinda studied up, like, was regularly listening to get the Get Your Marriage On podcast and kinda just refreshing myself in this information is really when we were in the best seasons,
Mhm.
in our sex life. But we did have one night where I don't even remember exactly what happened. I think it was after a date night or something, and we were totally going to have sex. It was like we talked about it and it was gonna happen, and then it was at the end of the night, and I'm like, "I just genuinely don't feel like it, and I
Uh-huh.
don't wanna do it because I don't wanna disassociate."
Right.
And he got angry and not it was he was just quiet, and I'm like, "I want you to talk about what you're feeling." And he's like, "I don't really wanna talk about it because it's gonna hurt your feelings."
Uh-huh.
I'm like, "I know, but we just gotta talk about it." So
Uh-huh. I
he
can
was
handle it. Go.
Yes, exactly. I'm like, "Let's
Absolutely.
go." I'm already so I get so mad at myself enough that it was like, nothing you can say is anything I don't already know. I'm already mad at myself for not wanting it, you know?
Mhm.
So he shared with me, like, "I'm just frustrated because I don't feel desired. I desire you and I love you so much, and I just don't feel like you feel the same way for me."
Mhm.
And felt so much pain because I don't want him to feel that way, because it was like in every other area, I loved him so much. Just sexually, I don't know. It was hard to explain that it was just a different thing. It was really hard for me to find the words to kind of explain that I did desire him as my husband. I just didn't sexually desire him.
Yeah.
It's a hard thing to admit, and it caused a lot of pain. But that all being said, those moments of pain we've had in our marriage are the ones that propel me into taking massive action.
Yeah.
And in listening to your podcast, I was hearing about this woman's cohort,
Mhm.
and and I kind of felt like, "Oh, is this just another thing that I'm adding to the list? And it's going to be another thing that I do okay in, but then we go back." And so, it was an investment for us. So I was trying to think through, is this something I can even bring to him? Will he just say, "No, she's hopeless," or is it actually something that maybe he'll be open to? So I brought it up, and
Mhm.
he was very open to it. We've done cohorts and other things before, and they
Uh-huh.
were really beautifully helpful for us. So
Uh-huh.
he loves the cohort, just
Approach. Yeah.
approach. Yes, yes, and
Uh-huh.
we've seen a lot of success in it in other areas of our life. Uh, so he said yes, and I was so excited to be a part of it, and I started it back, was it 2025 I did it?
Yeah. It's about a
It's
year
been more
ago. Yeah.
yeah, wow. And what a beautiful experience that was for me, because I was in a group with women who, everything they said, I was like, "Yep, felt that. I could have said that." It's like hearing these women echo what we've all experienced. But the best part of it for me was it wasn't just an echo chamber of women commiserating and talking
Uh-huh.
about our problems, because our coach was Tammy, and we had Tammy to be like, "Yes, you all are in that place, but there's a way out." So we had like this like Sherpa on like Mount Everest kind of showing
Uh-huh.
us the way, like, "Yes, you're here, but I can show you how to get out of there." And it was just so helpful to be shown that it's possible. It's possible, it's possible. And I think I know my biggest takeaway from the women's cohort was that I need to take full accountability for my sex life. And I
Mhm.
think my whole life, or my whole marriage, I was waiting for something external to save me. It was like,
Yeah.
well, Maybe it's my hormones. Nope, got my hormones checked, they're fine. Okay, so maybe it's like, maybe there's
Kids.
some kind of yeah, right. Yeah, maybe after when I'm done with my pregnancy, then it is I was
Yeah.
waiting for something external to save me from this bad sex life I was having, and it was like, I just through doing the program, I realized I am totally responsible for changing the way I show up in sex and changing my
Mhm.
sex life. And yeah, so I think that was just so powerful to, she provided me with some almost like words or just little things I can
Affirmations or
kind of like
uh-huh,
things I could say when I started to spiral. It was like,
uh-huh.
Jordan is home. Jordan is safe. Because what will happen is my mind would start to find all the reasons why I'm not sexually into it.
Mm,
And I
right.
would just have to stop it, notice those things, and be like, no, he is handsome. He is masculine. Like, just start canceling out those negative thoughts with these powerful, true, like the true thoughts about my husband. And it's just
Mhm,
amazing that when I took control of my own mind, it just shifted things.
mhm.
So that's a really long way of explaining my journey.
Wow, that's incredible.
Thank
Great.
you.
Faith, can you tell me more about disassociation and what that feels like? How did you know that you were disassociating in sex, and what's that experience like? If you could just put it in words a little more.
Really. Yeah. So I think for me, it was let's do this because I know it's not going to be that long. And I know it will give me the outcome that I want, which is him being happy. And it was a way
Uh-huh.
to control his emotions and to
Yeah.
get our marriage again in a good place. Cause I know it's been a week, but after we do it, we're good for another week and he'll be happy for another week. So disassociating was like, all right, just gotta do what I gotta do, laying there, and instead of being connected to my senses, I completely shut my senses off and just, sometimes I would wanna cry, which is so sad to say,
Uh-huh.
but there'd be time and, like, how horrible would my husband feel, to know that I wanna cry after? Like, that's how disassociated I was, where it was like I was so out of my body that afterwards I just wanted to cry.
Yeah.
Instead of just being so connected to the truth of the experience that my husband adores me and loves me and, like, is so just amazed by me in this experience, like, I didn't focus on any of those true thoughts. I instead just shut everything down.
Mm. You talked about wanting to cry after. That's a very strong emotion,
Mhm.
but in sex, back then, how are you and your husband, even though you're physically close, how close are you emotionally in the sexual experience? Like, are you touching each other even emotionally in it?
Back then, no. I think for me, it was simple. It was just really simple, and he was happy with very simple. He wasn't asking for much.
Mhm.
But I think what I realized more down the road was that he knew I wasn't like he could tell. Men aren't stupid. Like they know when their wives are not connected
Yeah.
to it. And
Uh-huh.
that made him sad. So I personally was not emotionally connected. Instead, I was more focusing on the guilt that I felt for not being connected.
Mhm. Gotcha. But it's not like a very connecting experience. You can't be really present together. You can't look into each other's eyes and
No.
laugh and giggle and, like, just be in the moment together, just enjoy it. It's
It
not like
wasn't
that.
that at all. Yeah, which again, it's I feel so much pain and so much sadness when I think about it. For a long time, I've been like, "What's wrong with me? Why does this have to be my story? Maybe if I didn't do this in my past, I wouldn't have to deal with these consequences." And that might be true, but like, I really do believe this, and I say this a lot. I'm so blessed by our painful experience because I really do believe we now don't get like a mediocre, okay, good enough sex life. We had to experience pain to now be able to be like, let's go on this journey to find like the best sex life that we can. So
Ah,
it really is a blessing. And so like for anyone who's listening who is being hard on themselves for having this struggle with their husband, it really can be a blessing, and it can be just like this cornerstone moment or this keystone moment where you can propel yourself into like the best sex life of your life. And we're not even there yet, but I'm like, we have so much life to go. Like,
Yeah.
oh, we get better.
Well, there will always be a next level. There will always be growth, right? Because
Yeah.
that's the beauty of it. What you're describing to me is like there's a creation, there's a fall, and there's a redemption.
Yes.
Right? Early in the marriage is that creation
Yeah.
phase, and then the fall was pretty quick for several years. Now you're in this redemption phase,
Mm.
and redemption is ongoing and will continue to go as you keep climbing more and more, as you mature, as you gain more capacity.
I
So
believe that.
that's inspiring to me.
Mm.
So you're in the cohort. The biggest takeaway is taking 100% responsibility.
Mhm.
How much of that was like, "Okay, I wanna think about the sex life I want to build, not the sex life Jordan wants to build. What do I want?"
Yeah, that's such
You
a
go first.
I'm glad you brought that up. I think I know that another moment that was kind of an aha moment for me was it's not that I'm wrong and he's right or vice versa. It's that we both just experience what we enjoy differently and that that's
Mhm.
okay. And I think I
Yes.
kind of had to
Mhm.
redefine what do I enjoy? And I realized there was just moments that like what was so connective for me was just like taking a hot shower and then getting just him putting lotion on me and me just, like, relaxing and me not having to do anything crazy or wild, but, have him giving me a massage, but me kind of learning what are the things that are so, like, really enjoyable for me in that moment, and it was, like, when I started to discover what that was, he I don't know, it allowed me to be more open to other things. So it was like, "Oh, I'm actually getting my cup filled." I never thought my cup could get filled in sex. I thought I was just filling his.
Ah, uh-huh. Yeah.
So, to have my cup filled, all of a sudden, I'm a little bit more open to what else it just kinda opens the door. It creates this openness to do more when my cup is also getting filled. So, being in the cohort, it definitely made me redefine, really think about what does sex look like for me, not just for him, but what does it look like for me? So yeah, redefining it, going on that journey was pretty amazing experience.
I think a lot of marriages, they struggle to create room for both people to experience their
Mhm.
full capacities. And
Yep.
and you've demonstrated growth a lot in that area. What advice would you give to couples that are still, like, a few steps behind wanting to move in that direction?
I think it's one of the hardest things. It's the simplest, but it's the hardest, and that is communication. Uh,
Uh-huh.
I would literally feel like my mouth was sewn shut when I would approach communicating what I maybe wanted.
Uh-huh.
Um, or even asking him what he might want, it was like everything in my body was like, "I can't even talk about it," which is so crazy, and I believe that's just the work of the enemy, but I
Uh-huh.
couldn't even talk about it, and, I think through doing these little reps of talking about it here and talking about it there and getting more comfortable talking about sex, it now we have a little bit of more, like, fluidity in saying, tonight, can we take a shower together? That's been like one of the most connective things for us to do recently.
Yeah.
And then in him feeling like he can now just ask, can I have this? So I think the communication has given us, I don't want to say that we are able to like be more selfish, but it's kind of given us the ability to more just advocate for like, can I have this or can we do this tonight? And there's more freedom in the other person being like, "No, but can we do this instead?" Or maybe tomorrow we can do that, but tonight can we just yada yada. So that's
Yeah.
kinda given us the ability to make room for both is just communicating our needs, which again, it's the simplest, but I for some reason, it is so hard. It's so silly.
Well, there actually is an element of healthy selfishness in good
Yeah,
sex,
yeah,
right? Like, really good sex, there is a little bit of, "Oh, I want you. Come to me. Like, I want this. Give me
yeah,
more of that." In a good way. I mean, not in an abusive way where you're
of
taking
course.
advantage, taking, but yeah. Now, I want to connect that idea with something you said earlier.
Mhm.
Receiving is hard. It was
Mm,
so hard for you earlier. Now I've just grown into that. Can you talk more on that? Anything that helped you with your mindset or ideas around receiving? I can
yeah,
receive pleasure from my husband. That's okay now.
totally. Again, this is, for anyone who might be going through this right now and feeling so turned off by it, it is a journey. So, like, we've been on a very long journey and it does take time. But I think the biggest shift for me was 100% realizing my husband does not care what things look like down there. He
Uh-huh.
doesn't like, he does not care. And I would get so in my head, and this is, like, up
Uh-huh.
until very recently, like, this is a new freedom,
Discovery. Uh-huh.
new discovery, but I just had to totally radically believe, and even if I'm wrong, I can't, like, bring myself to even think I'm wrong, but I have to radically believe that my husband does not care what time of day it is, what's happening. He
Uh-huh.
just wants me. So I
Uh-huh.
think that was really helpful for me because I would kind of write things off like, "Oh, I didn't shower. Oh, I" whatever the reason is. I would find every reason under the book to be like, "That's I'm not gonna let him go down there because I'm too self-conscious," or,
Mhm.
whatever the reasons are. I think so that was one of the things. Another thing was also just fully believing that pleasure is for me. That God
Uh-huh.
created me to experience it. It is not bad, it is good, and that it is for me. And I think that's something I had to really accept is that I'm meant to experience it just as much as he is. And again, this has taken time to kind of think on for me to come to this place, but it is true, and there are still times, when you disassociate for as long as I did, there are
Uh-huh.
still a lot of times that my body still wants to close up and be like, "Oh, no, he
Mhm.
wants it again." And then everything my body says, "Close up and lock up, it's not safe." And I just have to talk myself off the ledge and just say, all these things I'm saying to you, I just have to tell myself. My husband is I get to enjoy him. It's pleasurable for me. I'm meant to experience pleasure. It's going to be fun, enjoyable, and connective. So it's just kind of rebringing all those thoughts and feelings back to what the truth is and ruthlessly living there. Like I cannot afford to live in the other headspace anymore. It's brought nothing but pain, brought nothing but disconnection. If I allow myself to live there again another 10 years, we're only gonna drift further apart. So it's like I have to be just ruthless. Like that cannot be live in my head anymore. And I need to, with everything, just take those thoughts and change them. So
Okay. Yeah. That's good. Tell me about pleasure some more and wrap it in the party metaphor that you talked about earlier. Like, hey, the party's for me too, and I can throw a party. What are
yeah,
some things, or maybe making it playful? Because
yeah.
instead of duty obligation, which sounds like work, now it's a place of pleasure, which sounds like play. What helped you wrap your mind around that you can play in it?
Yeah, I think I had to release the expectation of, what a party is. I think when I think of a party, I think of confetti and fireworks and like, "Woo!" And
Uh-huh.
I think sometimes my party is just, and like I mentioned this earlier, but for us, it's been at the end of the day, let's just shower together. For the
Mhm.
longest time, I would take a shower, then he'd wait for me out of the shower, and he'd get in the shower. And there was a moment I was like, "Why are we not just showering together?"
Uh-huh.
It's
We have water, come on.
wait a minute. So we've been doing that recently, and it doesn't always lead to sex, but it kind of
It's
is that
connecting. It's
playful,
relaxing.
very, very connective, very
Uh-huh.
playful, and I don't know, it just creates like this we're very vulnerable, we're naked, it's hot, and it just creates that fun, playful connectiveness with him. Um,
Mhm.
and again, it's like I just kind of feel like I can be fully myself. And I think going back to it being my party and experiencing pleasure, I think I need to be so okay with how I am, no matter what I'm looking like, no matter what I'm feeling like in that day. I have to just fully just be okay with how I am, who I am in the moment, and trust that he is down for whatever, whenever. So I just am able to be in a receiving place, and I'm able to be okay with whatever, if he wants to do something, if I kind of want to do something, just standing in that place of I am totally down for sex, even as I am, if I change nothing. And it just kind of opens me up to experience pleasure in a more relaxed and open way.
Yeah, so good. And maybe Faith, you haven't connected these dots, but a person to be able to be okay with who they are as they are, whenever they are, you've had to learn a lot of self-confidence and self-acceptance and a lot of like, you have to learn how to like yourself and just be okay with yourself and to have your own back and to be your own number one fan and all those good things. So that's a wonderful quality that I see in you.
Thank you so much. And I owe so much of it to the group as well, because just it's those subtle little mind shifts that you take again and again that get you there. This is not an overnight change,
Right. Uh-huh.
but it is true. Like I've had so much guilt and shame for so long because of the fact that I just couldn't get myself to enjoy sex. Like so much guilt, so much shame, so much pain. And to now be in a place where I'm, you know, I had to also get rid of like where I think we should be, what I think it
Uh,
should look like,
yes. Uh-huh.
and just be like, this is what it looks like now. And just the fact that there's a more openness, a more playfulness. I'm so blessed to be here in this place.
Mhm.
So it's like it just helps get rid of some of that guilt, some of that shame, and just be proud of who I am in this season, where I'm at in my sex life.
That's great. And I love how you're leaning into instead of comparing myself to this ideal, and our ideals always shift and change like a mirage. The closer you get to it, it's already changed, right? It's you'll never achieve it. And then you feel bad that you're not there.
Right.
That's not helpful. But what you're doing is like measuring yourself to who you are now compared to let's go a year ago, 2 years ago, 5 years ago. Like then you can have a lot of gratitude for who you are in the present. That's beautiful. That's a beautiful
Absolutely.
frame that you can lean into. It's great.
Thank you.
Okay, so besides telling all the ladies to join the women's cohort group for the coaching program, which I think is great advice, by the way, just a little biased. Um, so just to wrap up, I'm springing this on you. I don't think you're prepared for this, but I want to ask you, what would you say is a black belt sex tip? Now you want to take things to the next level. What advice would you
Um,
give to a listener?
okay, black belt sex tip. Oh man. Okay, I know that if there's one thing for my husband that he loves, it's the element of surprise.
Uh-huh.
So any kind of grabbing out of the blue
Uh-huh.
is going to be like a birthday present
Mhm.
for so I would say surprise, any kind of, especially if you've been in a similar situation to ours and he's not expecting really anything,
Uh-huh.
to just surprise him with a grab, a grope,
Mhm.
um,
A
or just
flash.
or a
Uh-huh.
oh, yeah, springing anything on him, it will be Christmas.
Yeah, that's good. Great. Great tip. Love it. Thank you.
Thank you,
Thanks,
dear.
Faith. I hope everyone that listens to this, I'm sure they're gonna be inspired by it and
Yeah,
just be really edified. And thank you for your courage. It takes a lot of courage to come on the podcast and share so openly and, vulnerably, and thank you. Thank you for this.
absolutely. It is my honor and my pleasure, and I'm so grateful to be here. Thank you, Dan.
All right, friends, thank you for listening to this episode. I hope you learned one or two things that you can take away from this episode and implement it right away in your marriage. I learned a lot from Faith. I learned the ability to just really lean in to what's good and not let my fears be my hangup, and that I'm not completely dictated by my past. I can shape a future that I want while also appreciating how far I've come. If you'd like help in your own marriage, you want specifically help with when it comes to intimacy, that could be sexual or emotional intimacy, reach out to my team. We're professionals and this is what we do. And we have that upcoming program that is our men's and women's group starting in May. So you'll find those details on our website. Meanwhile, share this episode with your married friends, download our intimacy apps, and go get your marriage on.